It's the video version of the rewatch for the 2002 wild card win against the New York Football Giants. We've got what, like five plays, six plays
Six
that kind
plays.
of six plays that detail some fun stuff, some not so fun stuff, some cornerbacks getting roasted, and all in all, the plays that really drove the 49ers to victory in this 2002 game because it definitely was a wild one. It was a lot of fun to watch. We're doing some of my favorite games, I think, during this rewatch. This game, we'll do a game here in the next couple weeks that I absolutely love. But the play that opens things up for the 49ers is going to be Terrell Owens doing Terrell Owens things because he is basically a man among boys. And this is the little fuzzy human that that David is circling. That is indeed Terrell Owens, despite the fact that you can't see him because this looks like Bigfoot video from 2002.
This video is just ridiculous. So yeah, he's aligned up there at the top. I mean, it was hard. Yeah, as we're going back and watching this game, and I'm not gonna lie, for me at least, things were very, very fuzzy. Like, had very little recollection of a lot of the details on this game. And one of the things that stood out the most was just like how much better Terrell Owens looked than everybody else on the field. And this was such a perfect example of it. So kind of let it run through there the first time. We're going to get a nice close-up replay. But this was just kind of like emblematic of what he did throughout this game, which is just take something that's largely like pretty simple, right? Just running kind of a real basic curl pattern here. We're going to get an all 22 look at kind of the overall concept here in a minute from a replay, but just him taking a short pass, breaking a couple tackles from guys that just absolutely bounce off of him and look like, high schoolers trying to tackle him or something. And then him just running away from the rest of the defense. And again, he just looked like a guy that was playing a different sport compared to everyone else.
The Giants here are in cover one robber. You see that basically you've got that single high safety up at the top, and then you've got the underneath defenders now are starting to man up. And so you've got a curl flat at the top of the screen, and Owens runs the curl, then you get that flat defender. This is a really basic route combination. High school teams are running this everywhere. Because the corner has to stay on top of that curl, it's easy money. This should be tackled right there, though. And instead, no one decides to wrap up. Terrell Owens is a huge man. And the thing that astounds me most about this is not that he breaks those two tackles because they just literally bounce off of him. It's the acceleration to go from basically in line with defenders to just past them. Like here to top speed, he just is wrecking angles. Like they thought they had an angle on him, and all of a sudden he is gone, and he is generating space. If there would have been more field there, he would have ended up farther away from those defenders. He was just faster than everyone. He was bigger than everyone. He was stronger than everyone. And I did forget how awesome he was at this thing called football. I mean, look at that.
Yeah. This the original broadcast view is probably the best that shows that. Like, just it's insane. Like he gets this again. It's underneath the coverage. Everybody's kind of playing soft. This is the first play of the game for the 49ers offense. So first play from scrimmage, everybody, it's a very, like you said, vanilla pass concept that you get from the 49ers here, vanilla coverage that you get, just kind of basic cover one, with you got that linebacker that's sitting as the free player in the middle. Guys are back and off, and you just see him, like, even against that soft coverage, take the broken tackles and then just, outrun everybody, and it's never really even close.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you've got a player like that. And opening play of the game, you're thinking to yourself, okay, the Niners are in business. But it did not, that's not the way that it went for the Niners, at least through the middle of the game. Because while the next play that we're going to show you is a Peterson sack, things at this point, it's tight. But Kerry Collins and the Giants offense seems to be able to do really some things that they want to do against this Niners defense. Really, we wanted to show you this play from Julian Peterson, mostly because Julian Peterson was a man before his time. He's there at the top of the screen. He's there lined up on the edge. And he basically just is more athletic than anyone right there, and more certainly athletic than it looks like Tiki Barber while he's on his way to sacking the quarterback. And he didn't have very many sacks that year, but Julian Peterson, he's one of those players that is certainly not going to be remembered by many, but definitely a player that was ahead of his time. I feel like he's not quite the Roger Craig of multifaceted defenders, but maybe someone who deserves a bit more, some more platitudes than he normally gets.
Yeah, I think, the thing that stood out, this is one play here that we get, and he certainly was used in this alignment where he's kind of up on the line of scrimmage. Over the tight end here is something that he was used in a lot, but in this game, I mean, he really lines up all over the place, is asked to do a bunch of different things, and yeah, I think it's something that in this day and age in football, even back in 2002, right, like not something that was terribly common, and that you had a lot of defenders playing that type of role. And so the fact that he could be somebody who is going to be a good enough coverage defender that they're matching him up, with a guy like Jeremy Shockey in one-on-one situations early in this game, which like went back and forth. He certainly wasn't like lights out in coverage in this game by any stretch, but, is able to like have the athleticism to be able to run with a guy like that up the seam. Had a pass breakup, was able to get an interception off a tip pass. And then you still take that same guy who can be versatile in coverage for you, and you can bring him off the edge. And here he gets matched up with Tiki Barber, who I kind of love, I'm not going to lie, I love seeing him get beat on this one. Like, I don't know what it is. Tiki Barber just kind of annoys me a little bit. And so seeing him just get destroyed and tossed aside pretty handily by Peterson here was great.
So I'd like to quickly fact check myself. I said platitudes. What I meant was plaudits. I didn't want to get the wrong word out there because it would have hurt me on the inside. That it hurts me. I think about these things all of the time. All the wrong words that I use regularly. It's just, it's part of my psychology. But now we get to the third play in the series, and it's really a play that I thought was really, really awesome. That Kerry Collins just throws one hell of a dime of a throw. This is basically a concept where you've got your running back running up the seam, and it's something that teams probably should do more of now. And I think it was Andy Reid, right, that had that vertical from the running back, and it was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. So it's really interesting to see the Giants had a play that's very similar to that, where they're going to run a vertical concept. And this throw from Kerry Collins, I mean, it's the literal definition of a big time throw. It's over the underneath defender, just in front of the safety. He's driving down the field to try to get a score. It's absolutely remarkable how just on the nose he puts this ball for Tiki Barber, and it's a really an all around great play.
Yeah, so I mean, we're talking late half situation, right? So this is with 33 seconds left in the first half. So they're pushing. I forget the down and distance because honestly, that's another thing that I hate about watching these old games is I can't believe that wasn't a regular thing that they would show the down and distance along with the score, like on whatever the little kind of display that they had going on there was. Like that wasn't a regular thing, I guess, until much more recently. But anyway,
this was a third and 8 play.
Third and 8 play. Yeah. Okay. Which makes sense. So from the 49ers, you're getting 2-man coverage here, right? Which is usually going to be a third down, third and long type coverage, or end of half, of which this is both of those things, right? So you're getting first the 2 deep safeties. So you got one safety here that's super blurry in the sunlight, and then you've got the other safety down here. These guys both getting back, playing deep half of the field. And then you've got all of your underneath defenders here in man coverage and getting into this inside leverage and kind of trail technique, right? So you can see it here. This is probably the guy that's like clearest that you can see on the video, but you'll see him kind of jump inside at the snap, right? And he's going to get right on that inside hip and kind of play low so that any sort of, intermediate route that they're going to run that's a little shallower, he can be in position to jump that because he knows that he's got this safety help over the top if they're going to try and hit anything deep. And so what you get here, though, with that is the matchup that the Giants end up going to is you get Barber out of the backfield. And so he's matched up. The 49ers actually have another safety here at the linebacker position, Tony Parrish, and he's going to get kind of lost a little bit out of there, gets a little flat-footed as he's coming to pick up Barber, and Barber just runs by him. And so even though this is kind of the one spot, right, as they're kind of calling out on the broadcast here, that's tough. That's, straight down the middle of the field is going to be tough for the safeties to get to because they're really trying to push for width and make sure they can get over the top of these outside routes here that are vertical up the sideline. And so you need this guy here to be able to run with anybody that they send up the seam. And so Barber just gets a couple steps on him. And you'll see, like, on this next replay, or actually after they show this, like, worthless super close-up replay that gives us next to nothing, you get a nice shot kind of from behind Collins of this throw, and it's just perfect.
Yeah, that's a 12-sack Andre Carter. Don't besmirch the Andre Carter. out of Cal, I believe, who did not
Yeah,
a whole hell of a lot for his entire career. Although he ended up on the Patriots, I feel like, at the end of his career. I mean, look at that placement right there.
yeah.
That
I
just
mean, just
he's able to
money.
just it's absolutely money. Now you can't really blame Tony Parrish for two reasons. One, dude was not signed to be a coverage defender. Like that guy was signed to be around the line of scrimmage and hit people. And the other is that mostly, and this is why this route is so effective even today. Running backs don't you typically run vertical routes like that. Usually, if a running back is going to come out of the backfield, they're going to run an option route or they're going to run an in breaking or an out breaking route. The running back route tree, when you compare that to the wide receiver route tree, is really limited. It's basically like in, out, Texas route, which is an angle route. You rarely see them run, or a wheel route is really the vertical route that you get, but that's usually up the sideline. You don't often see a running back running that middle seam often. And so Tony Parrish, for multiple reasons, caught flat-footed, and Kerry Collins drops a dime.
Yeah, was a great play from Barber, and this is going to be the actually I think 2 plays later here is our next play. So 16 seconds left, same drive here late in the first half, and we're going to get to Amani Toomer, who had just an absolutely monster first half performance, taking advantage of Ahmad Plummer. So
It's
as
not a Duma.
as the announcers tried to make painfully clear early on in this game, the 49ers were concerned about Mike Rumph, the other cornerback, right? He had been a liability for them for basically his entire career. And so what they wanted to be able to do was hopefully, so when you looked at the Giants receiving core, I mean, you really had Toomer is the clear option. And then after that, it was they didn't really have a lot of great options. The playing receiver, obviously, they had Barber and Shockey that were rounded out their top 3 passing targets. But as far as the actual wide receivers went, it was really just Toomer. And so what they hoped to do was be able to play Ahmad Plummer on Amani Toomer, hopefully kind of limit him a little bit so that they could have Rumph on some of the lesser wide receivers and then also kind of give him some safety help. And Ahmad Plummer was not up to the task. So this is going to be the 3rd touchdown that Toomer scores on him in this first half. I mean, the first couple were kind of a little bit more, underneath type routes. The first one was a kind of a shorter back shoulder fade route in the corner of the end zone. Then he had one on kind of like a quick stop route right at the goal line that he broke his tackle to get into the end zone. So just really was kind of having his way for him with Plummer in this one. And we're going to see on the replay, beats him with a nice double move to get over the top and makes a great play through contact here.
Yeah, overall, it's not anything terribly special here. I mean, you've got Ahmed Plummer who's got eyes on wide receiver, and as soon as he shuffles his feet, Ahmed Plummer tries to jump the route. He's playing the route look, he's shuffling, and then as soon as he takes that step, he's already lost the route here. And at this point, it's honestly not the best throw from Kerry Collins.
Yeah.
And it's such that you also get Ahmed Plummer who interferes with Amani Toomer, and Toomer's still able to make the catch. And so this is basically just 0 for 2, really, for Ahmed Plummer here, both in coverage and in not even, if you're going to interfere, at least prevent him from catching the football.
Right. Really interfere. Do that well, at least. Yeah.
The whole waving your hand up in the air is not good. It's almost as effective as the putting both your hands up to say that you did not block in the back. It doesn't work. You're just letting the ref know that you've done something wrong. He got roasted. Everyone got roasted in the secondary, it seemed like, at one point or another.
Yeah, I mean, the secondary was bad, and Plummer is the one that we're picking on here, but I mean, pretty much everybody in this secondary, had their moments that they looked pretty ugly in this game, and I mean, it showed, right? The Giants again had their way with them for most of this game, especially I think through the first half, first 2.5 quarters or so. Of the game, Toomer and Shockey just really kind of doing whatever they wanted against these guys.
But then we get to some of the fun stuff. We get to the Niners on offense, and this play is 323 scat Y stick slop. This is another touchdown to Terrell Owens, and basically it's a slant paired with a post route, and Owens just does Terrell Owens things. You can see him on the TV tape just break on that post. And Jason Sehorn is like, it's not gonna happen. It's Jason Sehorn and it's Terrell Owens. One of them is in the Hall of Fame. The other is not.
The other one is Jason Sehorn. Yeah. So I mean, let's if we go back here, I think this play is kind of interesting from a setup standpoint as well, right? So you're at 3rd and 4 here, and this was something, you know, as we were going back, not to spoil too much, as we were watching, or I was watching the next game that we're going to cover earlier today. This is stuff that the 49ers of this kind of era, right, of the late 90s and into this early 2000s period here with Mariucci did a lot, where they're going to take Garrison Hurst here. Let me get back to the beginning of this. So Garrison Hurst here lined up wide, and then you get a fullback essentially as the lone back in the backfield, right? And they're going to motion him out there. So we're getting, this is something that I feel like the 49ers, it seems like with all of their like most recent good coaches, I mean, I guess even going back to like Walsh and stuff, right? Finding ways to use kind of base personnel in the passing game in different ways. And so here you have just a 2 receiver set, right? This is 21 personnel, real base for this, era of football here. You've got your tight end. I've got my 2 backs, and then both of my receivers split up top here. But we're going to motion out to an empty formation. So I'm going to spread all these guys out. I'm hoping to get base defense here from the Giants and kind of spread them all out. And that gives me a ton of space here with Owens to work against Sehorn. And once he gets the ball, I mean, it's just over. These guys had such a hell of a time trying to tackle him in this game. Like if he could get the pass, like there were a couple plays where Garcia couldn't quite hit him accurately. And you had the ball that would kind of like bring him to the ground a little bit or something like that. But if he could get it to him in stride where he could keep going or at least had a little bit of space to like turn and get upfield, I mean, he wasn't getting brought down right away. Like it was taking a couple shots to get him down.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the idea that you disguise what you want to do based on, or you don't tip what you're going to do based on your formation, is something that Bill Walsh thought was a core part of the West Coast offense. He always felt like you should go out there with 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers, and that if you did not tip your hand, run or pass, then that gave you an advantage. And we know that offenses are better when they're able to deceive, whether it be play action, whether it be because of motion, or something that gives the offense an advantage. That's a good thing. And so I think it's not a coincidence that the great coaches in 49ers history are using their running backs that way, or putting them, motioning to empty, or really passing from running formations. It's something that happens with really successful offenses. And here, I mean, you've got that's just grown man strength right there. And then he's got speed, and he hangs onto the ball. I mean, it's amazing to watch him work. I remember watching Terrell Owens and thinking he was awesome, but I think in the intervening maybe 10 years, I'd forgotten just how good he was.
Yeah.
And he's really, really, really good.
Dude, such a beast. And so this was also the touchdown. So he ends up getting the 2-point conversion right after that as well. And that was the touchdown that Strahan goes up to him and points at the scoreboard, right? So this is kind of the first touchdown in the comeback that really kicked things off. And really got Strahan pissed, which led to that excellent moment of Strahan looking super bummed and walking off the field at the end once they had missed the field goal.
At one point, I forget who says it to him, but someone said they were talking to Strahan. They were like, "You got all that money and you can't fix your teeth."
Oh, Newberry. Yeah, Jeremy Newberry was the center here, was talking a lot of shit in this game.
Oh, Jeremy Newberry. I wish we wouldn't have lost it to microfracture surgery. I'm not sure if he got, I think he was a Niner when he got the microfracture surgery. I remember that very vividly because I think that's when I learned what microfracture surgery was. And I was very confused as to why you would drill holes in someone's bone. But, hey, football. So this is the final touchdown, the touchdown that ultimately wins the game for the 49ers. This play is 200 Jet X Colorado double post. And so we're going to see the double post to the top of the screen, and you're going to see X, which is the Colorado. That's going to be down here. But ultimately, this is a fantastic adjustment from Jeff Garcia, because you can see that he throws the ball to Streets' back shoulder. Streets, it's a post route. He should throw that inside. You're going to see it here, but you look at, I mean, it's just perfect play from that safety. He jumps the inside. If that ball's inside, it's a pick or a defense pass. But at this point, you get a back shoulder throw on a post, and ultimately Streets is able to adjust, make the catch, and win the game.
Yeah, so the guy, so we as we kind of like piece things together here, right, without the benefit of all 22, the guy that's going to break on the route is this outside corner here. So they're going to get to, even though you've got Seahorn that's kind of traveling with the motion here, they're going to end up dropping into what looks like a cover three look. So you've got this corner that's going to be back in your deep third area. Seahorn, you can see, is going to try to like get out here to the curl area, kind of widens him a little bit, but he's going to settle in the curl area and not really follow Streets on there, as he was indicating that he might with that motion. And so then as we get back to this replay here from kind of that behind view, you can see, okay, so here's Seahorn right in motion. You can see him kind of drop off and settle in that curl area. And you can see this corner's got that inside leverage, right? Because what they want to do, the double post, the inside post that we can't see, ideally that's trying to kind of clear any of the underneath defenders out. So any, linebackers that might be there underneath, hopefully it's going to attract them. The safety, you're hoping that he kind of drives on that route that's a little bit closer to him. And so at that point, then you only need this outside receiver to cross the face of the corner. He needs to get across and gain that inside position, but that's just not happening. The corner's sitting on this, waiting for it. He's driving on this here. And like you said, if this ball is thrown where it would normally be on this concept, right, which is going to be more inside here, leading him into the end zone, at the very least, that is getting broken up by this corner, right? If not intercepted. Like, he's really has kind of that dominant position on the inside there. And it's just such a good throw to put this on the back shoulder. It's a nice adjustment from Streets, right, to be able to recognize the flight of the ball and that it's not taking him inside where he's typically going to be. And so, yeah, just a great play. And especially like that placement from Garcia is just perfect. And his ability to recognize the leverage of that defender.
Yeah, Garcia had a bit of an up and down game. We talked about that a little bit on the pod, but this was definitely, I would say, his best throw of the game. And it was certainly, it was a game winner. The situation, the placement, the frequency. You don't see back shoulder posts very often at all.
Yeah.
And overall, I mean, this was a hell of a comeback. And this offense was certainly something. And they ended up getting blown out, of course, in the next game against Tampa Bay. But this was a hell of a game. And we didn't even talk about the field goal and Trey Junkin, the whole nine. I mean, you can watch that when you watch the game on YouTube. But it was certainly really, really fun. This was a game that, at least for me, kicked off my whole 49ers media quote unquote career. And so it'll always hold a special place in my heart.
Yeah, man, it was a lot of, it's always like a little dicey going back and watching some of these old games, because you wonder how they're going to hold up and whether they're going to be quite as entertaining, right, as the stuff that we've kind of become used to. And I think that today's game definitely leans more towards our preferences, right? A little pass game heavy, very quarterback centric, and all of that kind of stuff that we really enjoy about the game. And so you're worried when you go back to a game 20 years ago that it's going to be, kind of boring and there's not going to be a lot of interesting stuff. And at least so far, I think the games that we've been able to choose are kind of classic games that hold up well and that are very entertaining back and forth. I mean, here you have that huge comeback that was just so exciting to kind of rewatch and relive again.
Well, thanks for watching the Rewatch video here on the Patreon. And as always, go Niners.